for me to finally start doing some video tutorials. Not that I know a whole lot, but something that I've found to do as a new woodworker might help somebody else who's just starting out or struggling with a particular thing. As you can see, we have Little Dog joining us today as my helper. My first tutorial is going to be for the X braces, finding the right angles on these. They can be pretty difficult if you've never done them before, or you're not used to working with angles and figuring that stuff out. This is how I found to do it. That seems pretty easy, and I wanted to share that with the rest of you. The best way to start is to place your board where you want your angles to cross, and then clamp it at both ends. And make sure it lines up exactly where you want it to sit. The next tip I have is to come around to the back side and draw a line where your boards meet. The tool that I use to find these angles is this Gem Red Angle Finder. I bought it off Amazon. It's Prime eligible. Last time I looked about a week ago, it was $20. It opens up. You can go either way with it. It goes all the way around and back. It's got a meter reader, or angle reader, that tells you what you've got. And you can tighten it down so that if you're trying to measure multiple things and you want the same angle, it'll stay. From here, what I'll do is I'll open up the angle finder and I'll line up one side along the edge of the board. And I'll move it to line up with the line that I marked until it fits. And my angle meter, or my meter reader, says 24.3 degrees. I round that down, that's about 24 degrees is what I need to cut to make this fit into the braces. This is the method that I use to cut these angles with my miter saw. I get the board clamped at a 90-degree angle from my fence, and I have my miter saw set up to cut at 24 degrees. To make sure that this is square, I get out my speed square, line it up, and make sure everything is even. I test my blade to make sure it's going to line up where it's supposed to be. Move my square out of the way, hold on to this, and then make my cut. Once that's done, I've got my angle that should now fit into the table. I just flip it around and do the reverse to get the other side. Now that both ends of our board are cut, all you have to do, slide it right in and it fits perfectly. You may find that you need to cut off just a little bit from the top and the bottom of the board to make it slide in easier. It's a fraction of an inch and it'll make it fit like a dream. The next tutorial will be how to do the half flaps to make the second board fit over this one much easier and have everything line up. Now that you have both boards cut and everything fits, now it's time to do the half flap, or what I kind of did where I just did it on one board. All you have to do is from this point, go to the back like we did on the last one to find your angles and mark where the top board overlaps the second board. You'll now see that you have the marks, and you can use the angle finder like we previously did to find what these angles, but I found that this ranges anywhere between about 41 to 45 degrees, and I'll show you how I deal with that on the miter saw. I've set my miter saw to 42 degrees because that's what lined up with the lines I already made on my board. Keep in mind that these particular angle measurements apply to this particular console table and its dimensions. Anything that you build, you're probably going to have to adjust it at least a little bit. I've set my miter saw to where the depth where it doesn't go all the way through my board. I tested it out on a test piece of board, and I stuck a test piece or a spare piece of wood up against my fence so that my blade goes all the way down and makes an even cut along my board. From here, I just line it up and I start making cuts gradually along until I reach my other line. you're doing this, you may end up with a few little pieces of wood right here. Just go back over them and they'll go away. And as you can see, you need to be very careful with doing this because there may be flying material. It's likely easier to do this on a table saw, but I'm lazy and my camera stand is currently sitting on my table saw as it's not put together. Let me finish this up and I'll show you how we put it together. We've now got our lap cut. This is pretty rough in here and a little bit uneven because my screw that holds the depth of my saw doesn't always stay steady. So you can take a chisel and clean this up and make sure it's even and nice. Once you've got that done, we'll use the piece that I already did. You just slide it in on top. If you want to make both of these boards where they're even, you'll just make sure that this is done halfway through each board and then put them both together and they should line up and look like it's one solid piece. Any questions, let me know.